Welcome back to another amazing episode of DHN Crypto. I'm your host, Wade Teamer. I know it's been a couple days, but this week, guys, I wanted to work on some back office things. Get the social media in order, update some graphics, learn a couple new skills, stuff like that. As a solo creator running a channel by himself, it's sometimes you gotta either make the video or learn how to make the next video. That was what this week was. But what we're going to be discussing today is crypto news stories from over the week that I found to be the most interesting. Mainly Stellar Lumens. Two big stories from Stellar Lumens. Let's not waste no more time. Let's jump right into the first story. So now the first thing I found from them, and I'm over here on the tweet machine. Make sure you follow your boy at DHN Crypto. Now, this was retweeted by Danielle Dixon, but it's actually a story from February. Basically, Stellar's Lobster Wallet, they've kicked off a new program in Kenya that will allow people to earn an income, move money around in the native currency there. But of course, it's going to be a digital version, and that digital version is going to be running on XLM. It's Click Pesa is the company. And when I hear that name, it makes me really think about the M-Pesa. And I even, I tweeted at Danielle. I say, hey, M-Pesa integration next? I got to check and see if she replied or if anybody else is paying attention. But if so, then with the news that I'm going to tell you next about XLM and this right here, you can see the path that Stellar is looking to take next. Now, that's going to be in Africa, but we're going to hop over to Brazil, guys. This is a story that has been developing for quite some time, and we have been on top of it ever since. We're talking about the Brazilian CBDC, or the digital real, that Brazil kind of hung there. You'll remember that Stellar Lumens and Mercado Bitcoin, one of their largest Bitcoin exchanges out there, came together as one of the two crypto-related companies out of 13 finance companies that were participating in this Real Challenge, which was simply to provide a product or a version of a digital dollar that can be used on a massive scale. Now we have the results of that project, guys. So let's get the details. They say the pilot, jointly led by crypto exchange Mercado Bitcoin and Stellar Lumens, simulated delivery versus payment transactions in which the asset and the money exchange were exchanged simultaneously. Now, that term, delivery versus payment, that's very key. It takes us back to our FSB G20 finance report. The goal of reducing the cost of cross-border payments to less than 1%, delivery versus payment arrangements were on that agenda. This test was part of the LIFT Challenge, the central bank's CBDC trial, exploring potential use cases for the digital real with 9 consortia. While most participants are institutions, 2 cryptocurrency organizations were selected. This would be Stellar and Aave. Trying to tell you guys. Central bank's digital real was used as a reserve asset to back a stablecoin in what appears to be the model for payment institutions around the world. Most retail CBDCs are distributed via banks, but are still a central bank liability. Valor Econômico stated the design in Brazil is for merchants to use bank deposits rather than the CBDC. In other words, most retailers would not hold the CBDC. The CBDC would be more so a reserve asset. So it would take the place of the fiat that they would have in reserve, except it'd all be digital. The connector here is Stellar Lumens. Now, that's interesting. We have another instance where we're connecting CBDCs and stablecoins, right? Well, another story I stumbled upon over the week, we have, and we're coming back to the US with this one, US Treasury to consider wholesale CBDC access by non-banks, including stablecoin issuers. This was coming from a report that was published, or a speech that was given on Wednesday by U.S. Treasury Undersecretary Nellie Leong, and she was talking about the future of money and payments, including a potential digital dollar. She said that the Treasury would consider the option of providing access to a wholesale CBDC to non-bank financial institutions and stablecoin issuers. They said regarding the technology, and this here is interesting, wholesale CBDCs are likely to be tokenized instead of account based since digital currency money is already available today. So, tokenized CBDCs would imply the ability for them to run alongside or even on top of a blockchain. And we're seeing evidence of that with Stellar Lumens in Brazil. No word, no final word, though. Of course, they're not going to reveal the final say so on a US digital dollar. But at this point, guys, we know it's coming. We got big bankers coming out and stating that they feel that BlackRock is trying to position Circle and the USDC coin as that. This thing's going to heat up, man. And remember, we are less than 60 days away from the FedNow instant payment system and the rest of the instant payment system. 60 days away, ladies and gentlemen, as soon as April, as a matter of fact. Russia, let's jump into that real quick. Russia is confirming a digital ruble pilot starting in April, ladies and gentlemen. So we already have the e-naira, we already have the digital yuan, we already have the Bohemian sand dollar, if that's still a thing. But these CBDCs are, it's no longer a fear of them coming. They're here, ladies and gentlemen. Russia getting ready to launch theirs as soon as April. Now, there's so much discussion about how Russia is going to run this thing. They have multiple blockchain and DLT entities over there. And depending on who you support, Ripple could be supporting their payment system. Binance could be supporting their payment system. Hey, there's so much speculation conversation in this space. I personally believe that their blockchain is going to be a private system with the ability to connect to all the other blockchains, because you also have to keep in mind, since this conflict broke out, is that there has been almost $500 million worth of crypto moved in and out of Russia ever since this thing has broken out. So they've successfully tested. They know how to run these payment rails. That's for sure. So we got that coming in April, guys. And then Australia's central bank identifies CBDC use cases as it prepares for its pilot launch. This is coming from the Reserve Bank of Australia. They've outlined potential use cases, and a pilot program is set to be launched in the coming months, according to a white paper that was released on Thursday. Now, there will be a few small fintechs participating in Australia's. We got MasterCard, Australian Bond Exchange, Australia-based banking and financial services company ANZ. Now, we all know that tokens like Stellar Lumens and Ripple just launched that Australian dollar-backed stablecoin. And I firmly believe that one of the companies involved with moving that stablecoin around is participating in this pilot launch. And if not, then it's only a matter of time, because the pattern that we're seeing being placed is the relationships between CBDCs and stablecoins. They're bringing it all together, guys. Now, let's jump forward and talk about the Basel Banking Committee. Now, we were talking about Silvergate, what's going on with them. Essentially, Silvergate, from my understanding, it's a crypto related bank. They held a lot of money on their books. A lot of it was connected to FTX, because FTX fell under. The people that were using them to invest in FTX, they're trying to get their money back. Silvergate doesn't have it. Because of that, they are taking a massive L. But here's the connection here, though. The bank in the middle, right? That's what makes this story so interesting. So, Basel report shows regional differences in bank crypto exposures. What I want to immediately jump to is these figures here. Most banks have negligible exposures, with just 5 banks accounting for 97% of the 2.9 to 3 billion euros that were, reported as part of the survey. And one of the 5 banks make up the 62% of that 97%. 85% of risk exposure are attributed to American banks. 85%. All right. So all of the drama that we've seen with these exchanges, it's in all of 2022, there was an American bank in the middle. there is currently an American bank in the middle of it all right now. It's an interesting thing. It's an interesting thing. It's something that was on my mind. Had to break it down to you. Now, 11 of 17 banks are based in the Americas, with 4 in Europe and 2 elsewhere. The figures are broken out by region. The 2 rest of the world banks showed the most growth in exposures from a very small base, followed by the Americas. Europe showed a sharp contraction, but this is likely because the 2 banks are no longer included. Another reason why I found this story to be so interesting is the whole concept of crypto was kind of here to get us away from the traditional banking structure. Yet, every time a bank gets involved and they go down, or there's some, calamity in the situation, the market responds, as if this was a actual crypto exchange. Or Binance is a perfect example. A lot of the FUD around Binance in recent months has been because of their connections to American banks. Okay. There was a halt a couple months back now, where Binance had to pause transactions for 4 hours. And it was because the banks that were processing the transactions on behalf of Binance customers could not keep up with the transaction speed. With crypto, I love the fact that if you just give things a few months, all of the pieces come together, right? All of the pieces come together. So let's move over and talk about this. We're going to close out here because we kind of touched on Silvergate. I got the report on it. I'll tell you, I'll leave a link to it, to the report that I read, down in the description. That way you guys can dive into that. But I want to branch out to the fringe a little bit. We're going to talk Tron announcing its first official AI partnership with Orion Chain. Okay, now this is pretty cool. Pretty cool if it works. And if it's, legit. Because Mr. Justin here has come out and stated a lot of things that Tron was going to do that has not been done by Tron. So this story is interesting, though, because it's connected to the announcement that he made a couple weeks back around the whole chat GPT situation, artificial intelligence. He pretty much stated that Tron is now going to get into the artificial intelligence game. And I'm not even going to lie. I saw that and I literally looked at this man like, really, bro? Really? Because after the whole Sony Tron thing, I was kind of over it. But this one is interesting because Orion Chain is a very decent project. And what's going to happen is TRC20 tokens will be able to port over to the Orion Chain through the Orion bridge. And it's going to, of course, work back and forth. So what that will now allow for is Orion Chain nodes or applications, developments, things like that to be run on Tron. And compared to other chains, despite all of the nonsense that may go on, in the marketing or whatever, from a functionality standpoint, Tron works. All right. So any new application that actually hits its chain that runs, I got some faith in it. I do. I got some faith in it. And again, we may not see a major price pump, but remember the point that I made. Developments in the bear market bring more value in that bull market. With all that being said, I want you to, of course, have a great day. Have a prosperous day. As always, I'm Wade Teamer, and if that money is digital, so is the hustle. I'll see y'all in the next one.